All right, let's get going. Another Thursday, another unauthorized caucus. Goodness, we are coming down to the holidays, and it feels like a blaze of information coming at us left and right. So, thank you for joining me again today. My name is Ryan Height. This is an unauthorized caucus, our regular weekly live stream coming at you here on a Thursday, as we normally do. But today, it's not a we; it's just a me. So you're going to have to fly with me solo here for just a few minutes. We'll keep this one a little bit short. It is the end of the season. A lot of people are going out. Schools in different places are shutting down. I know, wrapping up their semester, and Congress is going to be shutting down soon. But they still have enough shenanigans going on in the background. That's why I knew we needed to still hop on. We'll join together again next Thursday. We'll maybe do a little Christmas special. But for this week, I wanted to make sure we got on and just talked about a couple of quick key items that I think are important and we need to understand. So even though I have a lack of a co-host today, I still want to bring a couple things to your attention. I've got some links to do. We just want to have as many back and forths. So please feel free to populate the chat. Where no sound. This is interesting. Hold on a minute. No sound, someone says. Thank you on YouTube for pointing this out. It seems that we have sound just fine. Hold on a minute. Let me double check and we'll make sure that we're not missing something here. Sound. Nope, it's there. All right. Good. Thanks, Mark. All right. I'm going to say that. Someone, I hate to say it's you and not me, but there's sound. So maybe double check just in case. Double check your sound on your computer because it tells me we're going. We're rocking and rolling. So let's get on with it. There won't be as much discussion. Our illustrious new co-host Andrew Muller could not be here with us. He's got something that they are wrapping up the end of the semester at his job today. So that definitely needed his attention. But there are matters in Congress that need our attention. First of all, right off the bat, we actually just sent out a press release about this. The news is coming around, and let me pull up this link that one of our folks sent to me. But Congress right now is trying to shove through a new omnibus bill. Isn't that just lovely? Aren't we all so excited about these continuing resolutions and new spending plans that just keep things going instead of actually sitting down and budgeting like, American families have to do? Wouldn't it be lovely if we were to do that? So the interesting thing about this one is the old Congress, the lame duck Congress, and we all know what lame duck means. I think we've covered that before. These are the folks who, there's a lot of them that are unaccountable, including one of my own senator, Roy Blunt. He was not running for re-election. So there is a new incoming senator in his seat in January. But right now, he is still there, the old senator, making decisions and doing things, but without the accountability of the voters. You know why? Because he isn't accountable anymore. He's on his way out. That lame duck session always has some very unfun surprises, it seems like, for the American people. So this year in particular, there's some nastiness going on. First of all, I know that Ed's talked about this. If you're not following the Pro America Report, the regular podcast every day, new segments that come out, please do. He's been in a little bit of a hiccup, so we've had some repeat guests here recently, but we have continued to make sure that those segments, what you need to know and what we need to do, have cranked out every single day because there is so much happening. One of those things this week, the January 6th committee, the so-called committee, they have been shuffling documents around like crazy, turning things over to the Department of Justice, getting rid of things like I made a comment today in one of our publications. They are definitely getting rid of their paper trail at a rate that would make even Enron jealous. So there's an old political joke, economic joke for some of you that probably understand that one. But they are dumping things left and right and trying to get all of their paper trail covered and pushed over to the executive branch so that when Jim Jordan and the new Congress come in and the oversight comes and says, hold on, let's take a look at this. Oh, we don't have it anymore. We gave it to them. And the Justice Department says, oh, well, this is an ongoing investigation. We can't just give you everything. It is such a shuffle game. And it's just awful what's going on. Well, all of Congress, the House and the Senate, are starting to do that very thing with a spending bill that is coming through right now. They are trying to push through a spending bill for the next year, right on the front of the new Congress coming in January, the House changing from Democrat to Republican control, and they're going to put forward a spending bill for the next year. That just seems disingenuous on its face. Everyone, Republican and Democrat alike, should know that this is just skirting the transparency of the new will of the voters, the new we the people, their representatives coming in and taking charge, cleaning house, including finances. Well, if we can shove a financial package together, we can at least hamstring them for the next year. Apparently is the old outgoing congressional leadership's view. So that's what they're doing. Guess what? Republicans are helping them. That's a big problem. If any so-called conservative would step up and support something like this, this is just so on its face wrong as far as how our government ought to behave. So we've got the lame duck omnibus bill that just needs to be rejected, flat out rejected. There's no deals. This just needs to be said no to. So I would encourage you. We have a press statement that's going out on that, or just has gone out. Let me send that to you here in the comments or in the chat, depending on what medium you're watching us on. But call your congressman, lame duck or not. Call your congressman, call your 2 senators, tell them this is just not the way that Congress should behave, especially with an incoming new wave of people. One of the houses flipping majority control. This isn't how we should be, operating ourselves, let alone right before Christmas, trying to get things out the door and wrapped up. This is a pretty nasty lump of coal in the stocking of we the people. So call your congressman. I think you should. This is just not how we should be doing things. But in other news, the bigger news, and this is where I want to kind of spend a little bit of time, because we've been on a little bit here today. And no, Mark, I don't think that Trump has made his announcement today. Is this, I guess, right now, type in the comments below. What do you think Trump's announcement is? I heard someone say that Trump's going to announce he's going to get back onto Twitter. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. I don't know what other announcements there are. We'll see. Oh, I take that back. He may have. You know what? It's a 6-minute video. We could watch this together. But I'm not going to. I'm going to post it in the comments here, though. We'll find out exactly what Donald Trump has said. We've been running around like crazy here, but I think it's probably. Oh, there it is. I knew it. Who put it in the comments? Was it serious or was it not serious? I had a sneaking suspicion that this was going to be something not so serious, because that man is very good at getting attention. And sure enough, here we are. Just in case you're wondering, I can break it here for you first. Well, not first, because it broke on Truth Social first. He has a new official line of trading cards coming. Donald Trump, the superhero, life size. Oh, really? Oh, no, not life size. Amazing art of Donald Trump's life and career. That's awesome. CollectTrumpCards.com. I'm going to go ahead and throw that down in the comments. So if you want to go over and take a look at that, that is the Trump announcement from today. I kind of figured in this lame duck week, it'd be nice to take some of the wind out of the sails of Congress. But here you go. Here's what I wanted to talk about. So the omnibus is pretty awful. Shame on Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in the Senate, or Majority Leader on GOP Leader Mitch McConnell in the Senate for pushing this and for pushing forward just some awful compromises that really don't need to be made, especially in a lame duck session, and then coercing his caucus to support it. I think this is an awful thing to do. But one of the really interesting things that happened this week, last week, you'll remember, Democrats won the Georgia Senate runoff, giving us a 51-49 Senate makeup. Now, it's actually not 51-49, because you'll remember that there are 2 Senate independents, Angus King and Bernie Sanders, who caucus with the Democrats. Obviously, Angus King has moved left. Bernie Sanders is trying to pull them left, but they caucus with the Democrats, even though they are by name independents. Well, there's 3 now. Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema, who is up for election in 2024, has officially changed her party affiliation to independent. Now, this is interesting. Kirsten Sinema has definitely been a thorn in the side of the Democrat Party. Between her and Joe Manchin, they've held up a lot of those plans with a 50-50 Senate that you just can't run through and do. In fact, really without a 60-40 Senate, you can't just ramrod through. So to have her suddenly move her party affiliation, this is really interesting to me. Typically, when you see someone make their party affiliation or change their party affiliation, if a Democrat changes their party affiliation, that generally signifies they're moving to the right. If a Republican changes their party affiliation, usually what does that mean? We're moving to the left. This is a really interesting dynamic to watch. In this case, though, I don't think no one's going to run out and say that Kirsten Sinema is any conservative. Obviously, she has very different beliefs on a lot of social issues and values-based issues, differently than I do, you and me and the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, a lot of grassroots conservatives. But she has very interestingly stood up and said no to the establishment, to the party leadership that typically browbeats the Democratic caucus into line. This is an interesting thing for her to make this switch. What does this mean? So this is a conversation. I'll kind of relay it to you. I don't have anyone here to have it with at the moment, just because of our pre-holiday plans. But what does this mean? Does this mean that Kirsten Sinema, does this mean that Kirsten Sinema is maybe preparing to go to the GOP side. I don't know about that. Does this mean she is gearing up to essentially try to hand over her seat to a Republican in the future, taking the power of incumbency away from the Democratic Party in Arizona? Maybe. Does this mean that she thinks she can win as an independent and roll forward with that same kind of big electoral or big power of incumbency, like we have two other Senate independents? Maybe. That's usually pretty difficult, especially for someone in her first term, moving forward as an independent. That's interesting. Typically, you're not going to find a big security of reelection in that, even though people tend to respond well to that when you buck the party system. One of the other things I heard, though, that was interesting, Arizona has closed voting registration, or you have to vote affiliated with a party. So out of the 4.2 million Arizonans that are registered, Republicans have 1.4 million, Democrats 1.2, but the second largest group right in between those two and on the heels of Republican, quite a bit higher than Democrat, are unaffiliated. They chose Arizona voters who chose not to identify with a political party. That's very interesting. And I know that we have all watched enough Arizona news to probably last us a lifetime. So I apologize for bringing it up yet again, but at least we're talking about not Maricopa County. But this is really interesting. So if you look at the path forward, this is definitely Kirsten Sinema is taking the Democrat caucus to task. The timing of this absolutely had something to do with it, I have to believe, because it is days after the news gets to crow about a new 51-49 Senate makeup. Well, now all of a sudden, if you're being honest, now we're back to, what do we have? 49, 48, and 3, because there's 3 independents. Now those 3 independents caucus, and make no mistake, Kirsten Sinema voted 93% of the time with the Biden administration. So she's definitely got the progressive values of that Democratic caucus, but there have been very key votes where she has refused to bend the knee on a lot of procedures. And it's been very interesting. So that Senate makeup, man, the headlines immediately had to switch. Instead of 51-49, we're back to 49-48 and 3. There are more Republicans in the Senate than Democrats right now. Let that sink in for a minute. This decision by Senator Sinema has made a very interesting setup for 2024, especially in Arizona, which I think we would still say is a pretty big battleground state as far as the presidential election goes. And again, she's up for re-election in 2024. So I don't know. This is a really interesting interesting situation. I don't quite know what to make of it. None of us here are quite sure where exactly we're going. Of course, Senator Sinema is running through a lot of the usual things you would expect to hear, talking about how the party leadership is too partisan and Americans want someone who works, the things you would normally expect to hear. But as you and I always know, there's always things going on behind the scenes in the halls of Congress. So what's happening here? I am inclined to think that this is going to be very interesting in 2024. I know I just made a very non-committal statement. Don't hate me, but this is going to be really interesting. One thing is for sure. Days after the Democrats get to crow about a now 51-49 majority in the Senate, she takes that away from them, essentially. Rips the thunder out of their sails. And I think this spells a very interesting second half of the Biden administration, because even though she's voted with them 93% of the time, there have been those other 7-ish percent of the time has been very key things. And she is definitely setting up to be more than just a thorn in their side, I think, for the next 2 years. I'll take that. She's no conservative by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that we're about to have some good old-fashioned fun in Congress, since the Republicans are coming in, and it looks like an even more even more conservative group is getting bigger and bigger inside the narrow GOP majority. Now with the Senate makeup shifting like this, I think we're setting up for some really good things. So as much as the lame duckers are trying to get some nasty things shoved through and hamstring the new Congress, it looks like the new Congress is going to have a good old time now that Kirsten Sinema has decided to leave the Democrat Party. So what do you think? Tell me in the comments. Email us at info@phyllisschlafly.com. Let me know. What do you think this means, this party switch? It certainly hasn't happened in quite a while, at least not with someone so shocking. Someone who was not that long ago considered one of the up-and-coming rising stars of the Democrat Party, has proved to be a thorn in their side, was voted. The Arizona Democratic Party voted to censure her. Now she has left the Democratic Party. man, this is Arizona's got some wild stuff going on. And I think this is going to prove to be very interesting and a very rough final 2 years of the Biden administration. So tell me, what do you think? What does this mean for 2024? What does Trump's announcement of his new trading card line mean for 2024? What are all of these things put together? Where are we going? And what does the makeup of Congress mean moving forward? Are the Republicans in the House going to be able to actually plow through and undo some of the ridiculous stuff that the Democrats have done? Are they going to be able to investigate things that the Democrat-led House wouldn't investigate? I think that we're up for a good time of some good old-fashioned political fights that need to be had to try to drag the things out of the darkness into the light. So you tell me what you think is the biggest thing, the biggest priority for the upcoming Congress. Do me a favor. Go and call your congressman and your 2 senators and tell them that this omnibus bill has to stop. And then let me know, what do you think about Senator Sinema switching over? I tend to think that this may be a move, not for her to secure her seat moving forward, but I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion that this may be some sort of move to go toward the right without necessarily becoming a Republican or handing that seat over directly. I don't know, though. There's a lot of different ways this could play out. But as I said, this is an odd week. We're kind of stumbling into Christmas, so I'm going to leave it there. Next week, we will gather together on Thursday. I kind of have a special Christmas message prepared. We won't talk about politics. We're coming right up on the celebration here of the birth of Jesus Christ, and we've got a few great things to share about that. It is an event of major significance, not only spiritually for those of us of faith, but for just the history of the world. So Phil has talked a lot about that, and there were a lot of significant Christmases other than that here in American history. So I want to bring a few of those to the table, and we'll have a good time and talk around the proverbial fire. But until then, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here with me as I fly solo today, and we'll look forward to kicking this off again. We'll come back with a new Congress with a bunch of new things and apparently a new Senate makeup. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to go and like and share and subscribe wherever you are. Make sure to hit that button and let your friends know that you are filling your mind with all sorts of interesting conversation starters and things that we as conservatives ought to be thinking about and having those discussions amongst friends. So until next Thursday, be in touch, and we'll look forward to seeing you then for another Unauthorized Caucus. Thanks so much, and have a good week.